Hey guys, it's the Techie Biochemist here, and today we're going to be going over some basic computer literacy things for Mac users, especially in Finder and Terminal. So if this sounds like something that can help you, stick around. Quick disclaimer though, this tutorial is aimed at Mac users, not Windows users. Windows people, I love you guys too, but this tutorial just ain't going to be any help to you because it is definitely Mac specific. Additionally, this tutorial is aimed at people with relatively low computer literacy. This doesn't mean you're stupid, it just means that you're used to very polished user interfaces and may need a little extra help getting up to speed with all of the under the hood stuff going on with your computer. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first let's talk about exactly what Finder is and what it does for us. So Finder is basically a user interface application for navigating the files on your computer. What this means is that you already know your computer stores files and folders and all that jazz to help you organize your stuff. What you may not realize is that everything you actually do on your computer is probably moderated by a UI or user interface. This is basically the interactive screens you use where everything is lined up in nice little rows with neat buttons to do things efficiently. That's how most applications, especially the ones that are built into Mac, will be. But when you're working with applications like NAMD and VMD, they're not going to have these really polished graphic user interfaces. So you kind of have to have a little bit more understanding of what's going on under the hood. And that's what we're covering here. So just to make sure you understand kind of the way Finder and thereby the way your computer's overall organization system works, I think a lot of times people hear folder and they think that all of the folders are kind of at the same level, that they're just like a storage bin that your files are that you can use to locate your files. It's a little more complicated than that. It's almost more like a tree of phylogeny or taxonomy where each folder represents kind of one of the levels of the phylogeny tree. And your files are the very lowest, like species or subspecies level there. And you kind of have to go through that whole tree to navigate to where you want to be. Another way of thinking of this that I think might be helpful for people is to understand that the folders aren't necessarily all like manila folders holding files. Another way of thinking about this is that as you go further up, like if I right click here, you can see all of these different things. These are each a level. The very top level is Dell Crusher. Let's say that this is a city, okay? Next we have our neighborhoods or like zip codes, you could say. So if I go into this zip code, I've got these. Let's say these are each a building. I'm not actually gonna click users because that would reveal some personal information, but I'll go from the other way and go up. So remember we said like users is like the zip code level. So my actual user folder would then be a building, like a street address. And then each of these folders is going to be like a different room or apartment number at that address. And if you go in there, then you have a file cabinet, or you have a series of file cabinets in that apartment or office, whatever you want to think about it. So we open the NAMD filing cabinet, and then we have even more, let's say drawers. Okay, so each of these are a drawer in the filing cabinet. And if we open up that drawer, then there's a bunch of files just sitting at the front of the drawer. But then there's also a folder, and inside that folder is more files. And that folder is labeled so we know exactly what's in it. That might kind of help you have more of an understanding of the fact that these folders aren't all at the same level. Rather, they are kind of Russian doll encapsulating one another. So the way you navigate to it, or the way your computer knows to navigate to a specific file, is where it's located within first the city, then the zip code, then the street address, then the apartment number, then the filing cabinet, then the drawer, file, or folder, and then finally your file. So that's kind of a way to think of it. And there's not really a limit to how many of those levels you can have, but each level is going to be kind of encapsulated inside the next. So when you're trying to tell your computer to access a specific file, you have to give it the right location to look at. You can't just give it the street address or just tell it, oh yeah, it's in the folder labeled this. Well, if your computer doesn't know, like if your computer's still thinking that you're at the city level, telling it, oh yeah, this file is in a folder labeled party supplies. Your computer's like, okay, well, you know, we're in New York. You think you can give me any more information than that? So that's why you might run into errors where your computer says, no file found. Don't know what you're talking about. It's because you haven't told your computer the correct place to look. So you have to know the whole cascade of where your computer is looking and where it needs to look, so you can give it those kind of turn-by-turn directions to get to where you are. Just another quick little thing I want to show, kind of a fun trick that can be useful. I like to keep all of my files inside documents, but then for quick access, it's handy to have what's called an alias. I know that this is an alias because it has this little curved black arrow going into it. Basically what that means is that when I click that to open it, it's actually opening up this folder, even though this folder is actually located in documents, not in desktop. So let me show you quickly how to make an alias, and just to show you that this is actually opening this folder. It's not just a folder with the same contents. If I open this and tell it to sort by date modified instead, and then close it out and open this, it's still going to be sorted like that. And if I sort by size, NAMD now is at the top. If I go into documents, NAMD tutorial, it's gonna same sort have that. So yeah, this is the same folder. It's just a little shortcut that lets me open stuff up directly from my desktop without having to go searching in my documents folder. So just real quickly to show you how to make an alias, you're going to right click. If you don't have right click set up on your mouse or trackpad, that's fine. The other way you can do this is by holding down the control key and doing a normal click, and it'll bring up this little menu. I'm going to come down here and hit make alias. You can see, even though this is also a folder, it specifically says over here that it's an alias, not a folder. You have that little arrow indicating that it is in fact an alias. And you don't actually have the drop down in option. You would have to like actually fully open up that to see what's in the folder. I'm going to just rename it VMD instead of VMD alias. And then finally, I'm going to right click again. I'm going to hit clean up just to make sure everything on my desktop is lined up nicely. Okay, so now that we've covered that, let's quickly get into a little bit of terminal work. Now, a quick little thing to mention here. Terminal is dangerous. And what I mean by that is that when you type stuff into terminal, you are like directly telling the computer what to do in a way that is in no way foolproof in terms of a user interface. So to put this again, an analogy, this time I'm going to use like car mechanics. As a driver, you know how to drive a car. You know how to press the gas, press the brake, control the steering wheel, the clickers, the windshield wipers, all that jazz. You know how to do, and there are easy interface options like pedals and dials and buttons and turners and whatnot that you can press in the cab to effect those changes. However, there are certain things that you never want to do to your car, especially while you're driving. And one of those things, for instance, would be removing the serpentine belt. If you've ever had car trouble or had a belt go out, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That serpentine belt goes out, and then suddenly your car battery can't charge while the car's driving, and pretty soon, like, it won't start up, and it's a pain in the butt, right? So terminal lets you go under the hood so that you can pull that serpentine belt off. You don't want to do that, obviously, but you could. In some cases, to fix bigger problems and do more complicated things behind the scenes, occasionally a car mechanic might want to remove the serpentine belt so he can like work on an idler pulley or something like that. But as just kind of a base level user, you don't want to go in and just grab the serpentine belt and unseat it. And that's kind of the danger with Terminal, is that in some ways you have that power. If you reach into Terminal and start typing in codes not knowing what they're going to do, you could very easily do serious damage to your system. So you should never type stuff into Terminal unless you understand exactly what they're doing, or at least like are following a tutorial where it's clear to you that the process you're following isn't going to cause any larger issues. So let's go ahead and get into it. Kind of adjacent to our little dig into Finder there, I'm going to show how navigating to files through Terminal works. So if I type the command cd, that is current directory. And if I just type that, it doesn't tell me anything. But if I type ls, that tells me what is in the current directory I'm in. Actually, this part tells me what current directory I'm in too. The Techie Biochemist at Dell Crusher. Dell Crusher is the name of my computer. Techie Biochemist is the name of my user. So this is basically in my user folder. And then these are all of the things that are inside that. So now if I use the cd command, I can go into any of these folders. So I'm just going to open up Finder here and accompany this by showing what level I'm at. So here, if I'm in the Techie Biochemist folder, and see that's what labeled here, that's what's labeled here, same folder. We've got desktop, downloads, documents, blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff lines up with what is listed up here, right? So in Finder, all I have to do to open up one of these folders is just double click it. In Terminal, I want to type cd, which is current directory, and I'll type NAMD tutorial. But in this case, because there is a space in the name of that folder, I do need to use a quotation mark thing. So I'm going to say NAMD tutorial. A very important thing to mention here, guys, capitalization has to be exact. If I didn't capitalize this T, or I left the rest of these letters lowercase or something, the computer would not be able to identify that I'm talking about this file. I know you might think that's dumb. It's like, come on, computer, this is basic. But again, this is the under the hood level of your computer. Terminal is not intended to be user interface friendly like that. It might give you errors that help you figure out what you did wrong, but that's about as far as it's going to go in terms of assisting you doing what you want. You have to be very deliberate and put in exactly what you want to happen, because this is not AI. This is you are driving the car. Like, this is the stick shift basically, guys. So if I type that, oh, okay. This is why. Let me explain what went wrong here. We're currently in the Techie Biochemist. There's no folder called NAMD tutorial in here. There's documents. I jumped into documents without actually typing in documents up here. So if I type in documents, because I'm in here, if I type in documents, I'm going to open that folder, and boom. Now see, it's saying documents. So now I can go ahead and say cd NAMD tutorial. And again, it's going to open it up, and it's still going to be saying essentially the name of that folder that I'm in right in front of that little percentage sign. So now I am definitely in the NAMD tutorial folder. Can do this another level, just for the sake of demonstration. I'm going to type in cd common. So I'm trying to open that folder, right? And bingo. Now we're in, and just to show that that's the case, if I type ls here now, it's going to list out what is in this folder, and you'll see it matches up perfectly with what I've typed in. So that kind of shows you how to navigate through Terminal. Now just a couple other, navigate through files using Terminal. Now just a couple other things to mention here. All of the things that we've done so far have been folders or directories. If I type in cd and then the name of one of these files, let's say sample.configuration, it's telling me it's not a directory, which is true. It's a configuration file, so it can't open that because cd is specifically for directories. So it can open a folder. It cannot open a file. And then just another little quick thing we can do. So typing this is going to take us back up 3 levels. So right now we're in common. So that first double dot, 1 dot for context here, tells you from current directory, this is where you're going. So if you put like dot files or whatever, that's what it's going to do. Just real quick here though, I do need to type cd though, because I am trying to navigate upward. So yeah, typing those 2 dashes and then a slash is going to tell it to move up a directory. So that first one's going to take us to NAMD tutorial. This second one's going to take us to documents. And the third is going to take us back to our home directory for the Techie Biochemist. So if I was correct in counting those, and I may have been wrong, this may only take us up to, actually this will probably take us up to documents, I think. Yeah, common, NAMD tutorial, doc. Well, no, yeah, okay, it should take us here to the Techie Biochemist. So when I type in this command, my next line should remove all of this and just go right back to this up here. So let's see what happens. And sure enough, that is exactly what happened. We are back in our user folder here. And just to show that you can actually do all of these commands at once as well, I'm going to go cd documents slash, oh, hold on, I need to use quotation marks because there's going to be a space in here. I'm going to say documents slash NAMD tutorial slash common. And it's going to bring me right back to that common folder. And just to prove that again, ls shows the same thing. So yeah. I'm going to go back up to NAMD tutorial though, and just show real quick how opening a executable file would be done. In this case, it's not going to work because I'm not going to give it all of the information it needs, but just to show you, if I drop this in here and hit enter, it'll run. Boom, beautiful, great. But that is a pretty long thing to have, and if you're trying to keep things simple, the other way of specifying to the computer that that's what you want is to go /. Don't actually have to drop it in here. I would just type out the name of the file, in this case NAMD2. And that's going to tell it this is a file in the current, this is in the current folder. And then this is a file, and it's going to try to open the file. And since it's a Unix executable file, it can do that. So same thing, I get the same output if I type that in. And yeah, it's saying end of program because it wants like commit configuration files, and I'm not specifying that. But this shows you that is essentially how you're going to tell it to run an executable file. All right, well, I think that is essentially all I have to show you for today. But let me know if you have any questions on anything I went over today. And maybe I can either go back and edit this video or make a new video if any of those questions are long enough or have answers long enough to warrant it. In the meantime, I hope this helped you gain a little bit of understanding of how to navigate around your computer and understand how files are nested in folders and directories and how you can access that with Terminal. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and have a great day.